There's a special kind of regret that only a motorcyclist knows. It starts with excitement, clicking buy now on some slick-looking gadget you saw on Instagram. Maybe it promised better comfort, better safety, or maybe it just looked cool. But a week later, you're staring at your bike thinking, why the hell did I bolt that trash on? See, the motorcycle world is full of traps. Accessories that seem smart, but do nothing. Or worse, they make things uglier, less safe, or more expensive in the long run. Some are sold as must-haves, but the only thing they're good at is collecting dust or falling off halfway through a ride. So let's call out the worst offenders, the fake fixes, the cheap gimmicks, the mods that scream, I don't know what I'm doing, because you deserve better than overpriced snake oil and parts that embarrass your bike. Let's get into it. Number 1. Stick-on tank grips with fake texture. They look great on the ad. All rugged, track-ready designs promising MotoGP level grip for your knees. But what you actually get? A flimsy sheet of rubber with a fake texture that feels like a yoga mat glued to your gas tank. Half the time, they don't even match the contour of your tank. They sit there with bubbles underneath, peeling at the edges like a sticker from a vending machine. And then comes the dirt. Oh, the dirt. These things collect grime like a lint roller in a garage. Every time you stop to clean your bike, you'll curse the day you stuck them on. The fake grip wears out in weeks, leaving behind a slick, gummy surface that's worse than bare paint. And removing them? Good luck. You'll spend an hour with Goo Gone and a heat gun trying not to damage your paint. If you really want knee grip, there are legit options. Molded pads made for your exact model with real adhesive and proper durability. But those cost money, and the cheapos bank on you being impatient. Don't fall for it. A fake tank grip doesn't just look sad, it makes your bike feel worse every time you lean into a corner. Number 2. Universal LED light strips. On paper, LED strips sound like the ultimate upgrade. Custom lighting, cool glow, nighttime visibility. But in reality, you're just one rainstorm away from turning your bike into an electrified disco disaster. These universal LED kits are sold everywhere, from Amazon to sketchy eBay shops, and they all promise the same thing. Easy install, waterproof design, endless customization. What they don't mention is the spaghetti mess of wires, brittle connectors, and adhesives that fail faster than a Craigslist battery. Half the time, you're stuck trimming wires, crimping sketchy terminals, and trying to figure out which color goes where. And let's not even talk about the double-sided tape they come with. It holds fine until the temperature hits 80 degrees, then the whole light strip peels off mid-ride like it's embarrassed to be seen on your bike. And when moisture inevitably sneaks into the housing, say hello to flickering lights, short circuits, or your entire setup going dark right before a night ride. You wanted Tron? You got a fire hazard. If you really want lighting, get quality kits made for motorcycles. Ones with sealed housing, solid wiring, and proper weather protection. Otherwise, you'll spend more time fixing your upgrade than actually riding. Because nothing says, I made a mistake, like glowing purple zip ties under your seat. Number 3. Cheap aluminum bar end mirrors. You know the type. CNC machined aluminum, race style. Advertised as lightweight and aerodynamic. You slap them on thinking you're getting a slick, minimal look. But 5 miles in, you realize they vibrate worse than a jackhammer on meth, and the only thing they reflect clearly is your own elbows. That is, when they're not drooping like a sad antenna or spinning out of alignment every time you hit a pothole. Half these cheap bar end mirrors are held together with tiny screws made of cheese. You tighten them once, they strip. You bump them in the garage, they snap. Adjust them on the road, they fall apart in your hand like a bad IKEA shelf. Even worse, some of these models don't actually secure into your bars properly. The expanding wedge inside doesn't grip unless your bars are perfectly smooth and sized. And even then, good luck getting them to stay tight longer than a week. You end up riding with a mirror aimed at the sky, the ground, or your own knee, and constantly fiddling with it at stoplights like a guy fighting with a loose tooth. Real bar end mirrors exist, but they aren't $15 on Amazon. If you want visibility that doesn't shake like a Polaroid, skip the bargain bin junk. Number 4. Throttle lock cruise controls. On paper, throttle locks sound like the poor man's cruise control. Twist, click, rest your wrist. But in reality, you're basically wedging a stick in your throttle and hoping nothing unexpected happens. The most common type is a plastic clamp or paddle that sits between your grip and the throttle housing. Easy to install, but even easier to regret. Some slip under pressure, making your throttle unpredictably spongy. Others lock too tight, leaving you fumbling to disengage it while barreling into traffic. Add in a rough road or a sudden wind gust, and now you're riding a rocket with no clear off switch. It's not just sketchy, it's dangerous. What these things really do is make your throttle feel like a broken rubber band. You lose feedback, fine control, and any sense of responsiveness. Try making small speed adjustments in traffic or coming down a twisty hill, and you'll be yanking on that thing like you're trying to start a lawnmower. If you do enough highway miles to need cruise control, the $20 plastic clamp might save your wrist, but it could cost you your ride, or worse. Number 5. Gel seat pads off Amazon. If you've ever searched motorcycle comfort upgrade on Amazon, chances are you've seen these magical gel seat pads. The photos always show some plush-looking cushion with a honeycomb pattern and promises of cloud-like comfort. What you actually get? A weirdly squishy blob that either slides around like a bar of soap or melts into goo on a hot day. Let's talk about that sliding first. These pads rarely strap down properly. One tight corner, one aggressive break, and suddenly your butt's off center like you're riding a greased bacon sheet. That's not just annoying, it's dangerous. You're not supposed to feel like you're riding a slip and slide at 70 miles an hour. Now, factor in heat. Most of these cheap gel pads aren't made to handle direct sun. Leave your bike parked for 20 minutes and come back to a molten seat that smells like burnt Tupperware. And don't even think about long-term durability. Within a month, the gel breaks down into a lumpy mess that feels like sitting on a bag of warm jelly beans. If your seat sucks, get it reupholstered, add memory foam, or replace it entirely. These gel pads are a textbook trap. They promise comfort, but they give you just one more thing to adjust, fix, or throw in the garbage forever. Number 6. Phone mounts without vibration dampening. You found a phone mount for $15. It had 4 stars and 2,000 reviews, and you thought, perfect. Then 2 weeks later, your iPhone camera starts looking like it's filming underwater. Congratulations! You've just learned the most expensive way to save money. Here's the thing. Modern smartphones have delicate optical image stabilization systems, and motorcycles, especially singles and twins, vibrate like a washing machine full of bricks. Without a proper dampener, that buzz travels straight in your phone's internals, frying the very mechanism that makes your photos sharp. You won't notice until your next video looks like Bigfoot footage. These cheap mounts don't just skimp on vibration protection. The clamps wear out fast, the plastic gets brittle in the sun, and the rotating arms? They'll either freeze in place or spin like a fidget toy every time you hit a bump. And don't count on them staying attached during a high-speed ride. Many riders have watched their phone take a flying leap at 60 miles an hour. The smarter move? Get a mount with a built-in vibration isolator, like Quad Lock system. Or better yet, keep your phone in your jacket and use a dedicated GPS unit if you're riding rough roads. Saving $40 on a mount isn't worth spending $400 fixing your camera, or losing your phone completely. Number 7. Clip-on wind deflectors that don't match your windshield. On paper, they sound like a genius hack. You're too tall for your stock windshield, so you buy a clip-on deflector to push airflow over your helmet and reduce buffeting. Problem is, unless that deflector is made for your exact screen shape and angle, what you've really bought is an aerodynamic disaster. Generic clip-ons tend to clamp poorly, especially on curved or short windshields. That leads to rattling at highway speeds, whistling sounds like you're being chased by a ghost, and sometimes even a visual obstruction right in your line of sight. And if you dare go over 70, it starts flapping like it's trying to escape. Not exactly confidence-inspiring mid-corner. You'll end up spending more time fiddling with adjustments than actually enjoying your ride. The hinges loosen, the screws strip, and worst of all, some of these things actually increase turbulence, making your helmet shake worse than before. If you need better wind protection, the answer isn't a cheap clip-on. It's a proper aftermarket windshield made for your bike and your height. They're designed with aerodynamics in mind, not just slapped together in a warehouse overseas. Because nothing ruins a ride faster than feeling like your helmet's in a wind tunnel because of something you paid money for. Number 8. Plastic frame sliders on sport bikes. Frame sliders sound like a no-brainer. You drop the bike, they take the hit, you ride away smiling. But the reality, the cheap plastic ones you find online for $20 do more harm than good. And sometimes, they're the reason your frame cracks in the first place. See, real sliders are engineered with the bike's geometry and crash dynamics in mind. The junk versions, they're just hollow plastic pucks bolted to long, unsupported rods. Drop your bike at low speed and the slider might snap right off. Worse, a bolt that can act like a lever, twisting your mounting point, bending your subframe, or even cracking your engine case. Congratulations, you just turned a scuff into a $2,000 repair bill. And let's not forget, some of them are mounted directly to engine cases without any structural support. So instead of saving your bike, you just gave the pavement a pry bar aimed at your cylinder head. Brilliant. If you're gonna run sliders, spend the extra for ones from a real brand. They should be made of solid Delrin, mounted to proper brackets, and tested for your exact model. Otherwise, you're not buying protection, you're buying a false sense of security that could end in a tow truck and tears. Number 9. Overcomplicated alarm systems. You'd think adding an alarm to your bike would be a smart move. Theft deterrent, GPS tracking, motion sensors, it all sounds like Mission Impossible level protection. But in reality, most of these over-engineered systems are just expensive anxiety machines that drain your battery and drive you nuts. Let's start with the false alarms. A gust of wind? Triggered. A cat brushing past? Triggered. You walking by with your keys still in your pocket? Triggered. And that high-pitched siren that's supposed to scare off thieves? Yeah, it scares you more than anyone else, especially when it randomly goes off at 3 a.m. and your neighbors think you're running a meth lab in your garage. And don't even get me started on the features. Some of these systems have companion apps, remote kill switches, auto call functions, and GPS syncing that never works when you need it. One minute your bike's parked at the diner, the next your app says it's in Guatemala. Fantastic. Meanwhile, the drain on your battery, constant. Leave it parked for a few days and you might come back to a dead bike, a triggered alarm, and a Bluetooth connection that suddenly needs a firmware update. You want security? A solid lock, a discreet tracker, and a healthy dose of common sense will do more than this overpriced sci-fi nonsense ever will. Number 10. Tank bras. Tank bras sound cool in theory. A sleek, protective layer to guard your paint from scratches, zippers, and bugs. Right? But in reality, they're just black vinyl regrets waiting to happen. Here's what actually happens. Moisture gets trapped underneath. Dust and grime sneak in. Every bump, every vibration turns that protective bra into sandpaper grinding away at your clear coat. And because you never take it off, why would you? You don't notice the damage until it's too late. You peel it back one day, expecting showroom paint, and find faded patches, water stains, or full-on rust spots forming like freckles on a ghost white tank. And let's not forget how they age. After a couple seasons in the sun, most tank bras shrink, crack, or warp. They start bubbling like cheap window tint. And once that happens, good luck getting it to lie flat again. You'll end up constantly adjusting it like a poorly tailored tuxedo on prom night. Worst part? They rarely even fit well to begin with, unless you ride a very specific make and model. For everyone else, it's a sloppy mess that shifts every time you ride hard, or worse, flaps in the wind like your bike's wearing a cape. Want real protection? Use quality, clear film or well-placed tank pads. Leave the bras to people, not bikes. Number 11. Clip-on highway pegs on naked bikes. Highway pegs have a purpose on cruisers. Big, lazy, mile-eaten touring bikes with floorboards and windshields the size of church doors. But slap a pair of clip-on pegs onto your stripped-down naked bike, and suddenly your ride goes from aggressive street fighter to confused midlife crisis. First problem, ergonomics. Naked bikes aren't built for stretched-out, feet-forward lounging. So when you finally try to use those pegs, you're either locked into a muscle cramp yoga pose or wobbling like a scarecrow in a hurricane. And guess what? You won't use them. Not once. You'll try it, feel stupid, and go back to the stock position wondering why your knees feel like they aged 10 years. Second, they look ridiculous. From a distance, it looks like your bike has antennas sticking out the sides, hoping to phone home. They ruin the lines, disrupt airflow, and scream, "Wish I bought a Harley but didn't commit." Worse, cheap versions rattle loose, fold under pressure, or scratch your frame. And when they do stay put, they drag in corners. That's right, pegs, meant for relaxation, become a safety hazard in tight bends. If you want real comfort, invest in proper foot controls, better seat padding, or actual touring mods. Not cosplay pegs that make your bike look like it's growing limbs. Number 12. Bluetooth tire caps. TPMS knockoffs. These little gadgets look like genius on paper. Screw them into your valve stem, sync with your phone, and boom! Tire pressure monitoring without installing a full system. In reality, they're the Wish.com version of a real TPMS, and they'll let you down faster than a rear tire with a nail in it. Here's a problem. Cheap Bluetooth tire caps are notorious for unreliable connections. One moment they're reading fine, the next your phone says you got 0 PSI, or worse, they just stop showing up entirely. That's not just annoying, it's dangerous. You end up trusting data that might be completely wrong while assuming your tires are safe. And that's not even the worst of it. Many of these caps leak air over time. The seal isn't great, the threading's inconsistent, and the sensors can wiggle loose from vibration. Some riders have literally lost air pressure mid-ride and didn't realize until their handling turned into a horror movie. You're also dealing with short battery life, apps that haven't been updated since Android Froyo, and customer support that's one guy in a basement named Greg. If you want to monitor your tire pressure, spring for a real TPMS system, or check it manually like your grandpa did. Don't trust your rubber to a $9 piece of plastic with Bluetooth in the name. Number 13. Fake carbon fiber anything. You ever see a bike decked out in carbon fiber parts and think, "Damn, that looks fast"? Then you get closer and realize it's just plastic with a printed sticker pretending to be carbon. That's like wearing a Rolex from a gas station. It's not fooling anyone, and it cheapens the whole look. These fake carbon parts are everywhere. Tank covers, lever guards, mirror housings, gauge clusters, you name it. And while they promise a high-performance aesthetic, what you get is brittle ABS plastic with a fake weave pattern that starts peeling after a few weeks in the sun. Some even yellow over time, so now your race bike has a weird nicotine tint. Functionally, they do nothing. They don't save weight, they don't improve aerodynamics, and they certainly don't make you faster. What they do is crack, rattle, and fall apart the first time your gloves graze them too hard. Worse, they often replace stronger OEM parts with flimsy covers that add bulk without protection. It's like wrapping a garbage can in a Gucci bag. Still garbage. Real carbon fiber is expensive for a reason. It's light, strong, and hard to make. If you can't afford the real thing, skip the cosplay. Your bike deserves better than pretending to be something it's not. Most of these traps look smart until they're rattling down the highway or frying your gear. If you've bought one, don't sweat it. We've all been there. The trick is learning fast, cutting the junk, and riding smarter next time. So what's the worst accessory you ever wasted money on? Drop it in the comments. Might save someone else from falling for it too. Ride safe, ride smart. See you next time.